Modern factories can ferment miso in weeks. Temperature-controlled steel tanks, precise inoculation schedules, industrial efficiency at its peak. Yet in Okazaki, Japan, a company founded in 1645 still ages their miso for 3 full years. 3 tons of river stones stacked by hand on wooden vats. No temperature control. No shortcuts. In a world that optimizes everything, why does Japan's most revered miso refuse to speed up? Miso starts with a fungus most people have never heard of. Aspergillus oryzae. Japan declared it the National Microorganism in 2006, the only country to officially designate a mold as national treasure. Not a plant, not bacteria. A filamentous fungus that produces over 50 different enzymes when it colonizes grain. The Japanese call this colonized grain koji. Without koji, there is no miso, there is no soy sauce, there is no sake, there is no mirin. Every fermented staple of Japanese cuisine depends on this single organism growing on steamed rice or barley for exactly 48 to 72 hours at precisely 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. Too short and the enzymes haven't developed. Too long and competing bacteria take over. The window is remarkably precise. Koji produces 2 categories of enzymes that do fundamentally different jobs. Proteases attack proteins. They slice long amino acid chains into shorter fragments, then into individual amino acids. Each cut releases glutamate, the molecule your tongue registers as umami, the 5th taste. Amylases attack starches. They break complex carbohydrates into simple sugars. The sweetness you taste in aged miso comes entirely from these converted starches. When researchers sequenced the Aspergillus oryzae genome in 2005, they found 134 genes dedicated to protein breakdown alone. The fungus evolved specifically to dismantle food at the molecular level. Your digestive system does the same work, but koji does it outside your body, pre-digesting the soybeans before you ever eat them. The second stage begins when mature koji meets cooked soybeans and salt. Salt concentration matters enormously to the outcome. Below 5%, dangerous bacteria can grow and spoil everything. Above 13%, fermentation slows to almost nothing useful. Traditional makers target 10 to 12%, the sweet spot that protects while allowing transformation. The mixture goes into vats. Wooden cedar vats if traditional, stainless steel tanks if industrial. Here's where time separates commodity miso from the revered stuff. At 30 degrees Celsius, enzymes work quickly. Proteins break down in weeks. Sugars convert in days. Industrial producers maintain this temperature constantly, producing miso in 1 to 3 months. The flavor is clean and predictable. So if enzymes work faster at higher temperatures, why would anyone choose to ferment at ambient temperature for 3 full years? The answer isn't in the enzymes, it's in what happens between enzyme cycles. Traditional miso experiences summer heat and winter cold. During warm months, enzymatic activity accelerates. Proteins shatter into amino acids. During cold months, activity nearly stops, but a different process takes over. Amino acids and sugars react slowly without enzymes, the Maillard reaction. The same chemistry that browns bread crust. At low temperatures, this reaction produces hundreds of flavor compounds that high-temperature fermentation never generates. You cannot rush Maillard. Compare a 3-month industrial miso to a 3-year traditional one. Industrial miso tastes of salt and basic umami. One note, consistent, the same from batch to batch. 3-year Hacho miso tastes of something deeper, earthy, slightly bitter, notes of chocolate and coffee that shouldn't exist in fermented soybeans. The difference shows in color, too. Quick miso stays pale brown. Long-aged miso turns nearly black. Visual evidence of Maillard compounds accumulating over time. At Kakukyu, the company aging miso since 1645, workers stack 3 tons of river stones on each wooden vat. The weight forces liquid to the surface, creating an oxygen barrier. Microbes living in the factory walls, cultivated over centuries, contribute their own signature to every batch. Here's what most people miss. When Hacho miso reaches full maturity, white crystals appear throughout the paste. They look like defects. They're actually proof of completion. Those crystals are tyrosine, an amino acid that precipitates out of solution when protein breakdown reaches its endpoint. The same crystallization happens in aged Parmesan and prosciutto. It takes so long because protein molecules are enormous. Thousands of amino acids linked together in complex chains. The koji enzymes work through them one bond at a time, methodically. Year 1 strips the outer structure. Year 2 reaches the protected core. Year 3 converts the final fragments. Rush it, and the crystals never form. The protein never fully transforms. Hacho miso represents just 0.2% of Japan's total miso production. The method requires too much time, too much space, too much patience for modern economics. Yet the Emperor of Japan receives Hacho miso by imperial appointment. Japanese mountain climbers carry it on expeditions for concentrated nutrition. The companies making it have survived 4 centuries without changing their core process. Industrial fermentation produces more miso in 1 month than traditional makers produce in a year. But it cannot replicate what 3 summers and 3 winters do to a soybean. Time is an ingredient that no factory can synthesize. Next time you stir miso into soup, consider what's actually dissolving in your bowl. If it took weeks, you're tasting enzymes doing their basic work. If it took years, you're tasting something enzymes alone cannot create. Hundreds of Maillard compounds, crystallized amino acids, centuries of microbes embedded in wooden vats. The longest fermentation in Japanese cuisine exists because patience produces flavors that speed simply cannot reach. So, which miso is sitting in your refrigerator right now?